Luke 1:37, for nothing will be impossible with God. This short verse carries enormous weight. It appears in the moment when the angel Gabriel speaks to Mary, explaining that she will conceive Jesus, something humanly impossible. Mary is a young woman, likely overwhelmed, confused, and facing a future that makes no sense. And right there, Gabriel gives her this truth: nothing is impossible with God. That statement wasn't just for Mary, it's a window into how God operates, both then and now. First, notice what the verse does not say. It doesn't say nothing will be difficult. It doesn't say everything will happen the way we expect, and it definitely doesn't say life will be easy. What it says is that God is not limited by the same constraints we are. Where we see dead ends, He sees possibilities we can't even imagine. In today's world, that hits home in a very real way. People face situations that feel locked in place: broken relationships, financial stress, health issues, loneliness, or dreams that seem permanently out of reach. From a human standpoint, many of these things are impossible. We calculate based on what we can see, what we've experienced, and what seems realistic, but God doesn't operate inside those boundaries. Think about it. A hardened heart can soften. A relationship that seems beyond repair can be restored. A life that feels stuck can take a completely new direction. Even when circumstances don't change, a person can be transformed internally in ways that defy explanation. The key is understanding that nothing is impossible with God doesn't mean He becomes a tool for our plans. It means He is able to accomplish His purposes, even when they seem unreachable to us. Mary still had to walk a difficult path after hearing this promise. She faced misunderstanding, social pressure, and uncertainty, but she moved forward in trust, not because everything made sense, but because she believed in who God is. That's where this verse becomes deeply practical today. Faith isn't pretending something is easy, it's choosing to trust God when it clearly isn't. You might be looking at something right now that feels stuck, final, or hopeless. This verse gently challenges that conclusion. It invites you to consider that your perspective isn't the full picture. God's ability isn't limited by your past, your current situation, or the opinions of others. At the same time, this truth calls for humility. Sometimes we define impossible as God must do exactly what I want, but God's power is always aligned with His wisdom. The greater miracle is not always the change of circumstances, it's the way He works through them to shape, strengthen, and redirect a life. So how do you live this out? You don't ignore reality, you bring it to God honestly. You don't force outcomes, you trust His timing. And you don't give up simply because something looks impossible. Because if Luke 1:37 is true, and it is, then the story isn't over just because you can't see a way forward. God can, and that changes everything.